This is an introduction to the BL-NavLV PC status tool. What it allows you to see is the status of the BL-NavLV device. So on the first screen, as you can see in this setup, we have a section here for input voltages, and you can see we have a 3-cell LiPo attached. We also have displayed here the USB voltage. We've also connected a 9-volt backup battery, and we also have our RC transmitter receiver unit plugged in. There's one RC RX input, and we will be able to see what the input value is at this point here once we switch the receiver on. To read back the data, actually, you press the R button here, or you can press the loop button and it'll constantly refresh with data. You can see the USB interface is blinking, showing that it's active. Here we have a couple of sections describing the switches. So the unit has two basic dip switches, dip switch 1 and dip switch 2, to set up various programming features. For example, here dip switch 1 is set up to the number of cells in your LiPo battery. Here we have 3 cells selected. So you can see here you're shown 3 cells, and also you're shown that the input voltage is also at the 3-cell level. For example, here switch 4 of dip switch 1 toggles between normal brightness and ultra brightness. So let me just show you. I'm just toggling switch 4 here, and you can see that that's switched off, and it's showing you're in high brightness mode. Switch it back on and you're in ultra brightness mode. The graphic here actually shows the unit and the LEDs as they actually flash. So this is the basic screen. We also have an RC/RX output here. We can toggle switch 4 of dip switch 2 here, and you can see that this will also toggle to 2000 microseconds, which is high level, 1000 microseconds low level. And this allows you to activate a parachute or similar or some electronics device based on when the low battery alarm happens. So this is the the status tab page. So the purpose of these dip switches: dip switch 1 is where you set up the number of cells in your LiPo battery if you're interested to know when you have a low voltage condition. And dip switch 2 is really to set up a timer. If you want to fly for maybe 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, you can set the time on dip switch 2, and then your alarm, your special flashing sequence showing you've got a low battery, will be activated after this timeout has expired. Or if you set them both, for example, let's set a time here. I'm moving one of the dip switches here, and you can see I've set a time here of 10 minutes. And you see here, since both dip switches have been set up, then the warning sequence will happen based on whichever one happens first. So that's the main purpose of these dip switches. Dip switch 4 here actually inverts the RC/RX input coming in and also the output going out. So let me just switch on the RC/RX, the RC transmitter here, and let's see what we've got coming in here. We've got over 2000 microseconds, so this is high, and we've got our nav lights on mapped into our channel 5. So let me flick that, and you can see on the graphic here that the nav lights come on, RC/RX in goes low, I've switched them off, RCRX in goes high. So we can change whether this happens on a high or low signal coming in by adjusting switch 4 on the unit itself. This is really a status software, so it shows you what's happening on the unit. It's not really designed to actually program the unit up, since it is very easily programmable via the dip switches. However, having said that, we do have some advanced commands, and you can look at the user manual to help to explain what these are. But if you press the advanced checkbox here, then you come into the advanced section. For example, you may want to set up a timeout period that's not available from the dip switches. Let me just pull up the user manual here. You can see that dip switches allow you to set up a timeout of 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, etc. But say you wanted to set up a timeout of 25 minutes. Then you can do that from these advanced commands here. You put the command in here as you can glean from the user manual. If you put a Q in front of it and send it along, it will send back what's actually programmed inside the BL-NavLV unit. And 0 means that this particular command to preset a timeout has been disabled, hence it's set at 0. So if you want to set to 25 minutes, you do that like this. You just set it in minutes, 25, send that along. And to check it, you just put a Q in front of the command as a question, and you can see it's now been set for 25 minutes. As another example, you can also set the exact voltage level that triggers the alarm if you have low voltage set up. So your LiPo battery low voltage detect default is set to 3.4 volts, and we can have a look at that by putting the correct command in here, and we have 3.4 volts. Now if you wanted to set up the voltage, the threshold voltage, single cell voltage for low battery detect to a different value, for example 3.45, you can do that from this command, 3.45, send it along, and then we can question it with a Q in front, and now it's set for 3.45 volts per cell. So these are the advanced commands. So the second tab here, we have a connection wizard. This really helps you to set up the inputs and outputs to the unit that suit what you actually want to do. So as you see here, there'll be a bunch of questions, and we can just go through a quick example of this. So if you want a warning if the low voltage, if the LiPo battery goes below your low voltage threshold voltage, you have this one selected. Now if you would also like at the same time to have the warning sequence flashing come up after a certain set time, you can also set this at the same time. For now we will just have the low voltage on the LiPo, and we put here the number of cells we have, so let's pick 3 cells, and we move on to the next page. Do we want an input switch? The input switch allows you to switch the landing lights on and off, so yes, why not? Let's have that. We have a 2-way switch rather than a 3-way switch in this example, so let's say we want to switch when that switch goes high. Do we intend to use RCRX output? Well, let's say we don't want to bother with that right now. So we go next. Now we have to deselect it first. I will not use this output. Next. And this just shows you the connections. Then you need to put a 3-cell LiPo on the T connector. You can have a battery on the spare battery input if you want, not mandatory. And you connect your RCRX switch into this connector here. It's important to note the black indications here showing where the ground signal should go. So that's really it. That's the connections diagram. There's also a battery health. The next tab is a battery health indicator, and you press the big button one time to get the status of your battery. We see here that on the voltage scale here, our cell that's connected is 82% along this scale. So it's not at 12.6 volts. You can see here the exact voltage, it's 12.12 volts. And that's 82% along the scale. So it's important to note that this isn't related to the, it isn't a percentage detailing the charge level, but it is related to the charge in that voltage is related to charge. If you want more information about this, you press the info button here, and a pop-up will come up here explaining this in more detail. The next tab is this upgrade tab. So there's a separate video showing how to upgrade software, so please go to that video. You simply launch the upgrade tool pressing this button. The last tab is an About tab. So that's basically it. Before we go, let me just show you what happens when the LiPo battery does go into a low voltage state and triggers the alarm. So let me put this back in loop mode. You can see the nav lights blinking in the normal way, and this switch will switch the landing lights on and off in the normal way. Now we have 12.27 volts here, so let me just disconnect the LiPo. We see the voltage falls and we're entering the alarm mode here. Now we can get out of this alarm mode so we can fly around normally and land the aircraft by flicking the switch. Now we're in a snooze mode, so basically the alarm has been suppressed. We're in snooze mode, and we can land the aircraft. Snooze mode will automatically exit after a preset time of 5 minutes. However, we've set this to be much faster, so you can actually see the snooze mode exiting in this setup, and here it exits and we're back into the alarm sequence. Again, flicking the switch and we enter snooze mode. Now you may not want to flick the switch to enter this snooze mode, in which case the BL-NavLV can enter snooze mode automatically for you, and this is by enabling auto snooze mode. Auto snooze mode can be enabled via the advanced commands, or if you don't want to connect to a PC, then you can set it up using the dip switches. If you set dip switch 1 and dip switch 2 both to all the switches to the on position prior to power up, important to be prior to power up, then when you do power up you will enable the auto snooze mode. In auto snooze mode, the BL-NavLV will enter snooze mode after 10 seconds of the alarm sequence happening. 10 seconds later it will enter snooze mode and the LEDs will blink in the normal way, and the switch will of course operate in the normal way for the landing lights. You can program the length of time snooze mode is active via the advanced commands, and with the snooze active, then there's no problem to fly the aircraft with the lights in the normal way. And that's it.